man who doesn't take any days off is the wonderful Dr. Vincent. And love getting him on because we talk about health and all the different things that impact upon you. Dr. Vincent, have we got you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
I'm good, Vincent. So, yes, came out of the gym this morning, so race to the station.
That's always music to my ears that at least someone is actually listening to us every week, week in, week out, because it is really important, like you say, that because especially when we are busy, we need a constant reminder that it is important to look after our health physically and also mentally. And today we're going to talk about stress because a lot of us say that it's a very stressful situation, or a lot of us probably do not realize that we're under stress. And some of us actually feel good when we're under stress. Like there are people out there who wear it like a badge of honor.
That thrive on stress.
Yes. And whichever group of people you are, you can't deny that stress is very taxing on our body as well as our mental health and well-being. When we're under stress, our brain is basically interpreted as if we are under attack or we are bracing for impact. And that can send a lot of physiological functions, including our hormonal balance, into a disarray.
And I don't think people realize the impact that stress has on your health.
Because
it does. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, about it, and they go, I've got health problems, and then they'll come up with, all the different reasons why they're under stress.
That's correct. And that is because our body will try to compensate in many ways. For example, the elevated heart rate, excessive sweating, restricted blood flow to the brain, because our body responds to stress differently. Some people have an elevated heart rate because they need to compensate for the shortness of breath, for example. Or some people get really anxious. Or some people, they don't feel it while they're awake. However, little do they know, it actually impacts their sleeping pattern, and they can then develop things like insomnia. So there are two types of the impacts of stress on our body. The short-term immediate impact, so things like you get sweaty, you get anxious, you get nervous, you're hyperventilated, or in some cases, some people can even have a panic attack, or a more prolonged or silent sort of kind of impact, things that can impact your insulin response. It makes you have a little bit more issues with things like weight loss or craving or sleeping pattern or energy level or a prolonged fatigue. And it's not to discount that just because you don't have an immediate impact from stress doesn't mean that you're fine.
And, when we're talking about, just grabbing that, that reward snack, because a lot of people sometimes will go along and say, I'm under stress, I better eat a chocolate bar.
That's correct. And that is basically, you can't blame the people because that's basically the brain taking control or exerting control over our will, if you like, because what your body needs when it's under stress is a surge of energy, and our brain interprets it as the need of sugar. And once in a while, it's fine because obviously there is always a reaction towards, the fight or flight, towards the adrenal gland overactive or overcompensating over a stressful situation. However, what I want to talk about is the prolonged stress, because our body biologically is very, very smart and is very resilient when it comes to dealing with situation at hand. However, what our body is not very good at is being constantly under stress. And this is when it can get tired, overwork, and get vulnerable to developing more serious diseases like arrhythmia even.
Okay. And people don't think like that, do they?
No, they don't. And unfortunately, even those who are aware of the situation that they are under stress, they sometimes attribute all of the symptoms of stress to illnesses, say headache or muscle pain and soreness, chest pain, fatigue, sexual dysfunction, anxiety. They attribute it to something that is quote unquote more palpable, something that's more tangible than stress. Because, I mean, we have to admit that it is easier said than done when we say that you have to reduce the stress factor. You have to reduce the amount of stress in your life. But it's not very easy to actually practice because...
I was just going to say that we can give all the suggestions in the world.
Exactly.
But some people are never going to do it.
Or they are not in the position or situation that they can do stress.
It, yeah.
Because if the source of your stress is work, not all of us have the luxury to actually quit our job or to actually stand up and make a difference, because we have to think about the real life impact and situation. So what I can suggest or what I can share from my own experience is that you can't control the source of the stress. You can maybe, but, you know, in my opinion, there is an exception to the rules. But what you can control is you can increase your resilience. You can increase your capability to deal with stress. And I really do think that it can make a whole lot of difference in terms of how your body physically and mentally, as well as emotionally, dealing with stress. So I call this stress management strategies. So earlier today, I actually shared in my Instagram story how to instantly feel better. So very, very simple and easy tricks. When you are overthinking about something, write it down. And I do actually practice this, especially when I was doing my PhD research, because it was PhD can be a very lonely journey. There was no classmates. I actually basically were dealing with the problem myself. So when I overthink, I write. The other thing that I really like is that when you're feeling blue or sad, exercise, because exercising or working out, being sweaty, actually triggers your brain to release endorphin, the happy hormone. So there are certain things that we can do to actually help us increase our capability in dealing with stress.
I mean, I think I'm 3 months in at the gym, and I know I've mentioned this on Saturday afternoons, and I do a class probably, you know, I'm up at 5:30 and I hit the class at 6, and then I'm out at 7. I actually did 2 classes in a row today, and it's made a huge difference to my life.
Yeah, and I mean, we hear you talking about that every week, and I do believe that it's not to brag, but you are feeling really great about yourself, and it's not bad. It's actually a good thing to celebrate little wins in life. If you complete an exercise, if you do a meal prep on Sunday for the entire week, if you make a choice of snacking on apples rather than Mars bars, I think we have to train our body and our mind to celebrate those little wins, because remember, when it comes to healthy lifestyle, it is not a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is actually a series of sprints, because if you look at it as a marathon, you probably get bored or tired in the middle of the long race. So I would suggest to people to actually see it as a series of little sprints. So you can have a cheat meal during once a week. You can have your wine once or twice a week, because a lot of people, when they talk about healthy lifestyle, they immediately go cold turkey and cut out all of these things.
You know, I'm no health expert, but you can't do that and go cold turkey like that.
You can, because it impacts your body physically, but also it impacts you psychologically. And not only that, a lot of people, when they go cold turkey in terms of they cut out dairy, or they cut out all the carbs or alcohol, before they know it, it actually impacts their social life. And if they're not careful, it can actually be a vicious cycle and a negative feedback towards their own mental health and well-being. So in moderation, everything in moderation, not too little and not too much.
And get a sense of humor.
That is correct. That is very important, because, I mean, people always ask me, what is the key to be a successful entrepreneur or a small business owner? Well, I always say that grow a backbone, because sometimes you have to take a stance, and then you're basically your own cheerleader. But the second point that is also equally as important is grow thicker skin. So people may laugh with you or at you, or even you laugh at yourself, because that surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, actually helps the way that your brain cope with the situation.
Yeah. I mean, just it's anything to me. It's anything getting by. You know, you should try and get hobbies. I remember a long time I struggled to find something that I actually like doing. I mean, I've got a motorbike. I enjoy going out and riding my motorbike occasionally. I'm not a big fan of listening to music, but you do have to find something other than your job, don't you?
That's correct. And if you don't know what it is, be open-minded. Go into trying things that are new for you. You don't have to like it. Most social club or most sports club or any type of clubs will have a tryout period. You can go once or twice or three times and decide for yourself. So it's not set in stone. You don't have to commit to anything new in the first go. But if you never try, you never know. For example, me with gardening, never in my life before I thought that I would be, voluntarily and purposely go and deal with dirt. But I love gardening now. I'm into bonsai now. And if people who know me in real life now, and you told them this, that Vincent is now into gardening 2 years ago, they would say that you're lying, because I am, but I gave it a go, and it's actually very therapeutic. And basically what Richard and I are saying is that aim to find an active ways to manage your stress, because sometimes the inactive ways to manage stress, such as, binging Netflix, surfing on the internet, playing video games, it may seem relaxing, but in a lot of cases, they may actually increase your stress over long term.
And I'll put one more in there. If you get a friend that goes along and says, this will get rid of your stress, try this, you've got to try it first, but not everybody is an expert, are they, Vincent?
That's correct. So I think everybody, somebody told me the other day that, Vincent, you're giving such a, simple and a sensible approach to health. And I said that I don't need to use fancy words, because I think a lot of us, we already know what we need to do. We just need a little bit of a nudge or a little bit of a reminder to put us in the right mindset, to actually remind us, to motivate us to aim for a healthy lifestyle, because we have to look after ourselves. That is not selfish. I always say that. It's self-full.
We'll finish up. We've got a text message here. I was in a highly stressful job years ago. At one stage, I thought I was having a heart attack. On day, appendicitis the next. I had numerous tests in hospital, including a night stay, and they found nothing. It was years later I realised it was stress. Thanks for sending that in, Michael. Vincent, where can we find? There are solutions to stress out there. Talk to somebody about it.
That's correct.
We've given you some suggestions today. Where can we find out more about you?
At appleday.com.au. Please do visit us, support us. We are currently on special at Woolworths, because when you are supporting my day job, you're actually not only supporting your health, but you're supporting Australian manufacturing industry as well as Australian apple farmers, because all of our products are made with 100% Australian apples. And I thank you for your support.
And I just had a quick message come in too. Make sure you see your doctor, your healthcare provider, a professional counsellor or therapist, because you know what? We want you to be healthy. If you're suffering from stress, let's try and, work together.
That's correct. And that actually is a very smart and sensible approach, because they can help you to identify sources of your stress and even help you with the new coping tools and stress management.
Which is good. Vincent, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Have a great day, and happy early Australia Day.